Kim Bokamper, if you don't know, spent almost a full decade playing for the Miami Dolphins. So he was loving what he saw yesterday from the Finns. I was saying to Crowder at the beginning of the show today, Bo, that I get some perverse pleasure out of watching Bill Belichick, just kind of bitch and moan on the sidelines because there's nothing he can do. Like, he just doesn't have the roster. He doesn't have Tom Brady. And so, like, what can he do other than bitch and moan? And I get some sort of weird enjoyment out of that.
There's two coaches. There's two coaches that I look forward to seeing their face. There's a Shannon. There's a moment in every game where the game is over. Sometimes it may be in the first quarter. Sometimes it may be in the last kick of the game. But there's always a point where that game's over, right? And with Nick Saban and Bill Belichick, when that point is, I know that cameras are always on their face, and it always brings a nice smile to my face when I see their face at that given moment, because it looks like they're about to choke on the Thanksgiving turkey, and
it's funny you say those two names. Is it because they're good coaches and you've outdueled them? Because like Nick Saban and Bill Belichick are Hall of Fame coaches, and respectively. Yes, that's what it is.
They're two. Look, they may be the only person walking around that's got two of them on their body, right? Because they're best friends. They're best friends. Those guys. I'm gonna tell you a story. We were doing a production meeting with Nick, when Bob Greasy was doing the games, and so Nick wouldn't talk to any of us. He would talk to Bob because Bob had the gold jacket, right? We were just in the room, You can be here, but be seen but not heard. And so Bob asked Nick. He says, "Hey, how was your off season?" He goes, "Oh, geez, I got to tell you, I had one of the greatest trips of my life, one of the greatest weekends of my life." So me and Bill Belichick went up to West Point. You ever been to West Point? It's beautiful up there. Talking about the river and and the trees are blooming and everything. It was, man, what a wonderful weekend. And I popped up and I said, "Well, did you guys go fishing?" Right? And he looks at me like I have five eyes, And he goes, "No, we sat in the dorms. We stayed in the dorms at West Point. We stayed there for 2 days, never left the room, and we discussed the 2-deep defense all weekend long." He said, "It was one of the greatest weekends of my life."
Yeah. Tells you everything you need to know about those jackasses.
You saw it in that show they did together. When Nick walked into Belichick's office, and the first thing he said was, "Hey, when you're in that 3-4 defense and your buck is coming off the weak side," and they just fell into football. I hated the show, but people loved it.
That's it. That's what they are, man. Look. It's fine. That's fine. It's good for them. But I like Nick Saban. He's got more money he needs to do. He can't spend a dime in Tuscaloosa, but he still looks like he walks around like he's got a stick, stick up. Going up there, pretty far up too.
Listen, you're speaking my language, man. I don't like either of those guys, but we were in Crowder and I were in.
Oh, where were we? You got Belichick up there carrying on the tradition of the snowplow in New England, cheating whenever he gets a chance.
That's right.
So that's going on all the time. So yeah,
it's about time to get their own. Right now. We were doing a broadcast in Alabama, me and Crowder. And you talk about, looking at you like you had 5 heads. Nick comes over to join us on the radio show only because, well, first of all, he wants to recruit in Miami, so he likes the radio exposure. Right. But because Crowder played for him with the Dolphins. And so when he walks over, I extend my hand like one normal human might do to another. And he looks at me like, "Why would you invade my personal space with your, mortal pedestrian hand?" Yeah. And then he proceeded to shake the top 3 tips of my fingers in some weird, awkward fashion that someone caught on camera. He's a weirdo.
Warm and fuzzy personality.
Weirdo. And then he gave Crowder a big hug, of course. He loves Crowder.
But Bo, I played for him for 2 years, 32 games. Yep. He never said my government name. He called me Gator for 2 entire seasons. He never said Channing or Crowder to me in a meeting, on the field, on the plane. He just called me Gator because All I was Will Linebacker 1. I was not a human being to him.
That's it. But it's funny though. You get all these guys, all these kids now. You know, like I'm watching the game last night. You know, in our game, everywhere you look in the NFL, you got 4 or 5 Alabama guys on there, right?
Yeah.
And you talk to any of those guys, and they love the guy. I mean, they're like, oh no, Nick's the greatest. You know, so it's I don't know. Maybe it's some kind of a cult they have in there when Jim Jones is floating around some Kool-Aid in there.
Something in that Tuscaloosa water.
Bo, but I'll tell you, Nick used to tell me what is going to happen on third down before the series started. He wouldn't say it nice, Bo.
Yeah.
He wouldn't say it nice.
Yeah.
He'd say, hey, Crowder. Oh, he didn't say Crowder. He said, hey, Gator. They don't think you can tackle. If they get in third or 8 plus, they're going to throw a weak side screen against trips because they don't trust you to tackle. If they get in trips, they're going to throw it on you. If you make the play, we'll get off the field. And, Bo, 2 plays ago passed, and we'll be on 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, and they'd motion the trips, and I look at the running back's eyes, and he'd be looking all weird. Yeah. And I would say, Nick just told me what they're about to do on this third down. So I'd creep up in the B gap, I'd go make the tackle, and we get off the field. But that's why I love Nick, because of the fact that he is a genius football coach, but he's a terrible person. I've said it for years.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. If you want to strip away all the personality and all that, and you want to get strictly to the X's and O's, you're right. I mean, he's one of the greatest college football coaches of all time. You know, although, however, when he left Michigan State, he had a plane chartered. And the story is he told all his assistants, anyone who wants to come down with me, I think is when he's going to LSU, anyone who wants to come down with me is welcome to come and be part of my staff. The plane came down, no one came off of it. So
tells you all you need to know.
I'm going to figure this thing out on myself, Nick.
Kim Bokamper is with us. What about our head coach, Mike McDaniel? Crowder, who's a defensive guy like you, marvels at some of the plays and motions that he sees Mike McDaniel running. Do you watch that offense sometimes and say, wow, like how would I?
Yeah, I do. That? I do. How can you not? I mean, he's different. I mean, he's different. But the more I've been around him, you start to kind of feel what he's about, and you kind of get a feel for him at arm's distance. But he's creative. He's like some kind of a savant, I think, like that. And he's got a way. These players. I talk to him after the game a lot of times. A lot of these guys, and when you talk about Mike, boy, they just get a smile on their face, their eyes light up. They love playing for the guy. He's a very offensively astute guy. He plays to like any great coaches. He looks at their abilities and plays to their abilities. He's got a guy like Tyreek. I remember seeing this happen kind of maybe the first when Reggie Bush came into the league, and people weren't quite sure, how they were going to use Reggie coming in here. And I remember seeing him when he was in New Orleans. And really for what they started doing, they much like the Dolphins are doing with Tyreek, putting him in motion as much as they were kind of just using him like they'd run that jet sweep, and they'd either fake it or they'd hand it. And so when you'd see Reggie run the jet sweep, you'd see 2 or 3 guys following him across there, right? It was they knew something was happening. So and they use it for a decoy and they use it for a play. Now I think they're doing the same thing with Tyreek, but it's a much more creative movement they're doing. Like this team moves pre-snap more than any team in the league. Kansas City, I think, is 2nd or 3rd, and maybe it's Buffalo is another one up there. But these guys, they move more, and it's to confuse the defense, get the defenses moving, just getting one person to hesitate that half second. Am I supposed to go there or not? You know how you get there, Channing, when you're there and you got to make that decision, and you really can't think about it. You just got to do it instinctively, and and if you don't make it in the right time, that guy's. And so that's what they're doing with Tyreek, and it's just it's been fun to watch, and the biggest bother I have with surrounding this team, I'll put it that way, is like last week you go up to Philadelphia. The week before you go up to Philadelphia and get beat up there. And I knew what I was going to see in the newspaper. I think I saw Chris Perkins was the headline. Oh, maybe they're not as good as we thought, right? And I'm thinking to myself, well, wait a minute. You lost to the defending NFC champions. You lost to the one of the other Super Bowl favorite in Buffalo, both on the road, right? What's wrong with that? And so they kind of put I just think the fact that I think people still don't believe in Mike, the team, and what they've been doing. I think a lot of people feel it's like a little smoke and mirrors. But I believe it's a good foundation because it's coming to foundation. San Francisco's doing the same thing. And look, you watch guys now. You watch teams now. I've seen like maybe two teams do that little where they had HN a couple weeks ago before he got hurt. They did that little no look shuffle pass. I've seen people doing that. So people are going to start looking at what he's doing, following what he's doing. And by the way, sometimes people are going to figure out what he's doing. But it's just pretty fun to watch right now.
And Bo, I've seen people, that little out motion where Tyreek lines up at the wing and runs out and gets a head start on the edge. Every NFL team started doing it when Mike did it. Like I'm watching that on a weekly basis. But speaking of Tyreek, it's something we talked about earlier, Bo. Like, where does Tyreek rank right now? Because Hawk's point was like, he's been here a year and a half. Like, we can't put him over, or my thought, we can't put him over Duper, Clayton, Warfield. But he's on the path to break Megatron's record. He's right there with Randy Moss, Jerry Rice's numbers. Like, are we living in history? Do we know we're living in history?
Well, look, he's 1,000 yards, 8 games in. He said this year, he said, I'm gonna go for 2,000. He's got a 1-game cushion, right? He's got 9 more games. He's at 1,000, a little over 1,000 at 8 games. And I think as far as it's. Channing, when I played, when you played, and even especially before me, like we didn't have any movement. I stayed with the Dolphins for 10 years, and most of the guys I played with stayed with the Dolphins for their whole career because we didn't have free agency, we didn't have trading. But now it's mercenary football, and guys are coming and going. The point being is, I think if you want to evaluate a guy like Tua in that vein. When you're looking at the Hall of Famers and those guys and trying to project there, then you've got to go back and you've got to take his Kansas City numbers and use those as a basis. Paul Warfield came to the Dolphins after a brilliant career in Cleveland, only played with the Dolphins for 4 or 5 years, but he went into the Hall of Fame as a Dolphin because it was his last team. So I think with Tyreek and anybody like that you're trying to measure for Hall of Fame or whatever, and they've been on multiple teams. I think you can't just look at the snapshot that, he's only been here a year and a half, so it's a little too much premature. I think if you look at where he began in Kansas City and to where he is right now and the trajectory that he's on, he's certainly on that curve.
Kim Bokamper, a legendary Miami Dolphin, and I think we are kind of getting to perhaps.
Let me ask you, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Can I ask, is Channing there?
Well, when you say
in
there,
studio?
I'm in South Florida.
I'm not in studio either. I'm in Boca, Channing's and Davey. I'm in Boca, Channing's and Davey. It's a new broadcast world, Bo. It's a new broadcast world.
Let me ask you this.
One stitch is here.
Can I ask you this? Let me ask you this. Who got over their cartilage tear faster, Jaylen Ramsey or your boy One Stitch?
Listen, this Solana, I have to tell you, we have discovered because last week he missed Thursday and Friday because he had a scratchy throat.
Well, the knee was bothering him. The knee was too cold. The knee was kind of bothering him a little
bit. He's not. How do I say it? It's when he travels, and I know you're going to Germany, but when Solana travels. When he comes back, he is just worn out, even if he's just going to lay on the beach. And so the knee, he's got gum problems. He's got an immunity issue. He's just, it is what it is.
Oh, okay. He's a mess.
He's called living hard, Bo. It's called living hard. I live it to the fullest, baby.
Living hard in West Kendall.
Hey, Bo.
Are you looking forward to Germany, Bo?
No. I don't know. Usually when I travel somewhere, especially when I travel somewhere new, the first thing I do is I go online and I look what the food looks like. Where am I going to eat? And I've been looking for the last week and a half, and I haven't seen one place that even it doesn't even like half the stuff I don't even know what it is, and so I may just be eating in the hotel every night.
Schnitzel, get a schnitzel and a bratwurst and a stein of beer.
No, please.
Hey, Bo.
Please.
When I
went today, I looked up. Is there an American steakhouse in Frankfurt? There's one, and so that's where I'll be eating every night.
Hey, Bo, I'll give you a hint, Bo. When I went to London, all I did was look for anywhere with a red light over the door, and I end up having a pretty good time all week.
Well, then, you and I are a little different in that vein, Kenny. I don't know.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, I get a robe when I get in here? Oh, I'll take my robe.
The only red light thing I walk into is where they've got it on the barbershop pole. That's it. That's the only red light. The only red light I go past when it's
the red light I'm looking for says hot donuts now, and it's a Krispy Kreme.
There you go.
I want my own robe. What? I get a robe.
Safe travels, Bo. We appreciate you making time for us.
All right. Thank you.
There you go. Kim Bokamper, a legendary Miami Dolphin. I was going to say we're embarking on I think, memorable time for Miami Dolphins fans and alumni, just the way that this season is shaping up and, how this roster is comprised. So I know that he's enjoying it. And he also delivered us, maybe here on October 30th, the best line that we've heard this calendar year, right? When you ask about Belichick and Saban, and he was like, no, they're just bleep holes.
I thought I was getting deep into the respect of the disrespect.
Perfect, man.
And Kim brought us right back down to earth.
That was perfect.